Reflecting on this semester, my time management has been heavily challenged as this is my first time being a part of a collegiate sports team and traveling constantly throughout the semester. In an asynchronous psychology course, you don't have a coach or a professor standing over you every day, so my success depends entirely on my own internal discipline. As an exercise science major, I've tried to treat my coursework kind of similar to my physical training and practices, where I would set specific blocks for studying, just how I would set blocks for myself in the weight room or at team practices. Whether I was working through detailed lab reports or muscular system stuff in my exercise science classes, or prepping for exams and quizzes in this psychology course, I realized I can't afford to just wing it and try to play it on the fly if I want to try to maintain my GPA. I've learned that staying ahead of the clock is the only way to avoid the stress of any upcoming deadlines. As this course is online, it has been quite convenient for me because I've been able to study and take quizzes on the road, and I'm not missing any lectures or any important information due to traveling and playing games, because it's all available online for me. My beliefs about learning have shifted a lot as I've gotten deeper into my major. It's easy to think for me that if a concept isn't directly on the exam or on a study guide, that it might be pointless or something I don't have to learn. But I've realized that extra content, whether it's something like landmarks on a fetal pig, or if it's something in a psychology class where it's just an extra article or something that I can read, it can actually help build a foundation for a bigger concept later in the future, even if you don't really see it right away. Psychology, just like in my kinesiology classes, this context keeps the material from feeling like it's just a list of random facts or something that doesn't matter. I've also found that while I like having a clear step-by-step learning approach, I'm starting to get more comfortable with open-ended learning, which I know is going to be extremely important in my future. In biomechanics and human behavior, which is lots of stuff I'm learning about right now in my other classes, things aren't always black and white. We obviously start by learning things like that, breaking everything down, but at the end you have to be able to assess somebody and give them their plan going forward and make adjustments on the fly, because no situation is going to be the same. So you have to understand the why behind a movement or thought process to really grasp it and understand it. And this thinking has kind of helped me grow as a student and also as an athlete as well. And then I feel like it's really helped me in this psychology course as well. Looking at my own performance with strengths and growth areas, I think my biggest strength is that I try to think critically rather than just relying on memorization and trying to just connect words, actually thinking about what is being presented and how I can apply it to real world situations, real world scenarios. If I take my kinesiology classes, for an example, memorizing the name of a muscle or a bone or tendon or a ligament doesn't do much, but I try to focus on the clinical side and learn how it functions throughout the body, and what are some possible pathologies or problems that someone could have, so then I know how I would tackle that situation if it came up in the real world. Same way I try to relate psychology concepts to real world scenarios. So if it's something that's new that I'm learning, I try to see how I could relate that to a real world situation and how that would come about in my life and where I would possibly see it. On the flip side, I know I need to grow when it comes to my independent motivation, especially in a course like this where there's no live lecture or anything to keep me on track. It can be tempting to procrastinate on some of the more difficult chapters, and I've had to step up and take a little bit more responsibility for my own learning and make sure that I'm putting in work even when there's no professor or coach or anybody pushing me to be there and continue learning. Looking ahead towards my future career, I'm hoping to continue to pursue my exercise science major degree and get into physical therapy. I know classes and the job itself are only going to get more difficult and more complex, moving beyond that kind of black and white, fact-based thinking, and is going to be huge, because in the clinic and wherever I end up getting placed, it's going to be a lot of problem solving on the fly, because every athlete's injury or psychological state or anything is just going to be a little bit different, and it's never going to be the same scenario. My future profession is going to require me to be flexible and, like I said, solve problems on the fly. And it's helpful because it's very similar to playing baseball and making mid-game adjustments and having to be able to be adaptable. This course has been a solid training ground for that, because I know if I can handle this level of independence and critical thinking, I'll be way better prepared to make high-pressure decisions later on as a professional. My plan moving forward involves two specific changes. First one is something I kind of already incorporate in another class. I kind of picked it up from one of my other professors, and it's just doing summary reflections after each chapter, kind of immediately after I finish that chapter while the info is still kind of fresh in my mind, rather than waiting till trying to cram everything in before a test. Even if it's just small, I'll write down the key concepts that I remember and how I can relate it to real world scenarios, because that really just helps me remember and be able to recall what I learned. Secondly, I want to challenge myself with more real world applications, like I said, like looking at clinical case studies and other stuff, so I'm not just relying on a study guide. Lots of my classes incorporate these case studies and clinical applications, so I think I should be able to do that and have success with it. And by taking more ownership of my education now, I'm making sure I'm ready for independence I'll need both in my future courses and in my career, hopefully in physical therapy.